the Art of Action figures with the Dragon Ball Z, Super Saiyan, Son Goku. The games begin from SHFiguarts. Some very nutritious food here for Dragon Ball Z fans after quite a long drought spent in the Daima Wonderland, let's be honest. Extremely hyped release for this year. #1 all-time post on the SHFiguarts subreddit. Budget release, main character, flagship IP, and a long-needed update for Standard Goku. The first since the 2.0, which first Standard Gi release was in 2017, either the Super Saiyan 3 or Super Saiyan God. Saiyan Raised on Earth came out the next year in 2018. It's a straight-up replacement for the, frankly, apology-worthy Super Saiyan Full Power Goku, which feels ancient, but believe it or not, is as recent as 2021. And Art of Action Figures trivia, my second SHFiguarts. Leave a comment if you think you can guess my first. I will say the answer is out there. On top of the design overhaul, by calling this The Games Begin, I think Tamashii kind of got a lot of people's hopes up for more Cell Saga, which truthfully they've completely dropped the ball and failed to capitalize on. I swear it's like they're allergic to momentum. Aside from the updated base form Goku on this body and the Dangerous Pride Vegeta, their follow-ups have been Nail, Namek Krillin, first appearance Super Saiyan Goku, limited manga color Super Saiyan Goku, and f***ing Guru. I like Namek, but I don't only like Namek, and it's not like I'm out here planning to live forever, so can we get on with it? Now, before we knew that redoing Cell Saga Goku was even an option, I fully expected a new Perfect Cell to be announced last year, right around the time this new Cell Games Gohan was coming out. But now, with Games Begin Goku dropping arguably an even bigger release than the Gohan, I think they would have to be actually insane to not dovetail with a Perfect Cell announcement at their Tamashii Nations event in Tokyo next week. What a golden window of opportunity. But wait, stop the presses. I've set my expectations for that event at about Third Eye Goma level, or maybe nothing at all. Just given their track record, it shows in recent years, Tamashii's been just basically absent as far as new Dragon Ball announcements. Every now and then they'll drop something online a few days before the show, but we already got that with the manga color legendary Super Saiyan Goku. So that might be it. Who knows? Honestly, I try to get this across in my videos as best I can. I like the figures that they're releasing. Like I said, I like Namek. I don't care if they keep releasing Namek figures. Just start doing some other stuff too. And what does have me excited is this Goku, which sets the standard for the next, decade of Dragon Ball Figuarts. And at least another 20 forms of Goku, Vegito, Gohan, all to redo on this body. There's a lot riding on it being good. Lots of eyes on it, like I mentioned. Not all of them super friendly. Does Tamashii deliver the goods? Let's find out. Quick tour of the packaging. It's a standard retail size SHFiguarts Dragon Ball box. Same layout as usual with a little window cut out on the front. What is a little bit different here is the lettering printed on the window is in silver compared to white. I first noticed this on the superhero figures. I'm not really sure what that's all about. And you can also see they've got this dynamic movable shoulder system. I think it's a patent that they're trying to apply for. I do love the shoulders that they've put on some of the recent Gokus. Along the bottom, all your standard brand logos: Bandai, Tamashii Nations, Dragon Ball Z, holographic Toei animation sticker, holographic Tamashii Nations quality sticker, both of which tell you it's authentic, designed by Tamashii Nations in Japan, Bandai Spirits, made in Vietnam, intended for ages 15 and up, warning choking hazard, small parts, not for children under 3 years, product may differ from photo, full color, figure photography, Goku in a signature Kamehameha pose. Once again, yellow accent color. It's always yellow or orange for Goku. I don't know why they never give him the blue. On the window, we have SHFiguarts Super Saiyan, Son Goku. The games begin. Same printed on the left-hand side, window cut out on top to let light in, black and white serious face on the bottom, gritting teeth face and smiling face on the right-hand side, and around the back, the full spread of promotional images. Lend me your energy. Goku does not use the Spirit Bomb during the Cell games. Barcodes and Bandai Namco distribution information at the bottom. Always be careful if handling a sharp object. I've already used it to slice the tape on the right hand side, push towards the back of the box, and pop. Slide the blade under the flap, push to the back, and pop. On the inner flap, instructions showing the different hand option parts. There's also a section that's highlighting all the parts that are soft plastic. Caution when moving, the soft plastic parts may deform. Quick overview of the accessories. It's a great spread for a budget release. I really don't expect anything more than this, and I think the windswept hair that they've been doing with all of them is awesome. Keep that up for the Dragon Ball line. It really brings the action poses to life. I don't really expect the budget releases to come with like energy effects or display stands or anything like that. But what we have here is really great. 4 faces, 5 pairs of hands, neutral Super Saiyan hair, and windswept Super Saiyan hair. A serious looking face, a happy, goofy looking face, and it's just kind of how Goku was illustrated during the Cell Saga. Gritting teeth and looking to his left. When there are 2 attacking faces like this and a shouting face, I like when one of them has a side eye. It just gives you more variety with action poses. And for the last one, I'll show you how swapping works. You just pull off the bangs. And the last face here, it can be a little bit tricky to get all attached and flushed with the faceplate. And last we have the shouting expression, which looks good. I think one where I might give the win to the full power Super Saiyan. I like the small pupils on the shouting face. I think it looks more intense. Prefer it like this, but I still think this looks pretty good. For hands, we obviously have a pair of fists, a pair of instant transmission or directing traffic hands, a pair of martial arts stance hands ready to square off with perfect cell, a pair of clenched finger open palm Kamehameha hands, and a pair of splayed finger open palm hands. And finally, let's look at how to swap the windswept hair. Due to the socket being placed at the back of the hair, it's a little more complicated than it needed to be, I think. I think it's pretty much necessary to take the face and bangs completely off, orient that hinge so that the ball is vertical. And this sometimes happens where the ball at the top of the neck comes out instead of the one connecting to the hair. And if that happens, you may need to like put a thumb or something, some kind of tool. This is the windswept hair bangs. This is the standard hair bangs. You can see the connections are different, so you're not going to be able to use them interchangeably. We want to align the ball vertically so that we can push down, and it can be kind of hard with this hinge. It tends to want to go all wonky and roll around on you, so it's best to just get like a good steady grip, firm, and rather than like try to put it on like this is never going to work. It's just going to fling forward like that. The problem is that hinge likes to like buckle forward and bend, so I find I have an easier time actually putting the hair on totally backwards. Let's see how many attempts this takes. Doing it on camera. There we go. All right, and now that it's on, it's upside down and backwards. The connection on the windswept hair to the faces and bangs is not quite as flush as I would like. You can see a pretty strong seam line there. I think that could be better. In fact, it is better on the other head. Yes, a lot of it's covered by the bangs, but you can see even at the sideburns where the seam is visible. With as seamless as they were able to get things like the Widow's Peak on Daima Vegeta, I'm a little bit confused why this was an issue. This hair sculpt also has like more flashing than normal. You can see a little bit sticking out at the bottom of the bangs, and that is kind of contributing to that little gap. It's hard to see, but this spike isn't formed completely correctly. A little more refinement could go into the hair sculpts. And with that, he's ready to fly kick someone in the face. You can see the different shape of the hair really helps sell the forward action here. All of that for Tamashi's budget price, which I think has maybe crept up to like $37 or $38 this year with circumstances. But yeah, my goodness, taking this out of the tray and just even holding it up, that looks incredible. That is such a step up from really any Goku figure. I am so pleased with how this looks, just in a neutral, relaxed, like ready for battle pose. You can bring the shoulders in and out as much as you like. In the Android saga, Goku has wide shoulders. Let's go ahead and do some side-by-side and height comparisons. And first up, we've got Super Saiyan Goku's prior incarnations in SHFiguarts. On the left, this is sort of a kit bashed 1.0. I don't have the first release or the SDCC exclusive. This is actually the base form 1.0 with the Awakening Warrior Super Saiyan Goku. It's the same exact sculpt as the 1.0. And on the right, the infamous 2.0 Super Saiyan Full Power Goku. My second SHFiguarts. Don't forget to leave a comment if you think you can guess what my first SHF was. So many differences to point out between these bodies. I did a comparison of 1.0, 2.0, and what we were calling 3.0 at the time, but it was the third-party Kong Studios version of that body a long time ago. It's like my #1 video on my channel, so go check that one out if you haven't. But even over this body, this new Goku body, however, is very different from that Kong Studios body, which is why a lot of people are pretty conflicted about whether this is 3.0 or 3.5 or 4.0. I'm prone to calling it 4.0 just given how different it is from that like Ultimate Gohan framework, but I'm willing to wait a little bit and let things sink in. Like, keep in mind, we didn't start calling 3.0 3.0 until that Gohan, really, even though like Krillin and Broly and Super Saiyan 4 Goku were all technically 3.0 way before that. We'll just let it sink in. Games begin Goku. Games begin Goku. That's all you gotta know. Immediately, you can see the improvement in the silhouette. Just at rest, he can stand straight up with his limbs straight up and down. No more A-frame awkwardness of the 2.0. 1.0 had it to some extent. 2.0, kind of worse in a lot of ways. It's a much sturdier architecture, but it also introduced some rigidity. They did improve the knees a heck of a lot. I think the torso was a step backwards. The shoulders were a step backwards in terms of functionality. Definitely forwards in terms of sculpt, though. You can see this awkward little overhang here. 2.0, they kind of shaved that down nicely. 3.0 or 4.0, they really refined it, and I like how the bicep now kind of overlaps the shoulder. I think that looks more organic than the shoulder overlapping the bicep, which is what they were doing. More improvement at the shoulders. You can see the sleeves of his shirt wrap all the way around the arm. They no longer peg into the back. The other nice thing is that they are separate overlay pieces. No need to paint the blue undershirt. As you can see on the 1.0 has led to some paint rubbing off. I didn't get that on the 2.0 for whatever reason. You can see just how much sharper the sculpt of these wrinkles is in his shirt. Very soft on the 1.0. Still pretty soft on the 2.0. The pants wrinkles, which were always pretty sharp. I think the 1.0, they overdid it. This feels just right and looks so good with these new knees. I think they finally dialed in the Super Saiyan hair color. Nice middle ground between the kind of platinum blonde and the golden color when their auras flared up. The macaroni and cheese yellow was never the right choice. Bad Tamashi. Pale yellow with the orange shading. wasn't bad, but I wasn't a huge fan of the orange shading. People call it like the candy corn era, and yeah. His boot tie is finally like a proper yellow string instead of this like grayish tan color. Spinning him around to the back, we can see some neck cutout at the top, which I am in favor of. I need Dragon Ball figures to look straight up as much as they can. This Games Begin gets pretty close, but otherwise, I mean, you see more sharp folds sculpted into the shirt. The waist and butt area has never looked better. As far as like putting a butt flap on the waist piece, this one's good. It's got a little like definition to it, so it's not weirdly flat like a lot of them were early in the 3.0 era. And I mean, what part of the anatomy is that? Or that? Similarly, the back of the new knees is almost as good as the front of the new knees. And I mean, just compare that to this or this. Now let's play a quick game of which silhouette has the least amount of jank, and I think it's pretty clear, right? Visual center of your brain processes high-level shapes, silhouettes, and outlines much more quickly and frequently than tiny, minuscule detail like sculpt of a specific muscle. So the silhouette is extremely important. Compromises here can really throw things off. With the 1.0, you can really see they had this like distinctive kind of diamond shape at the knee, combined with kind of an unnatural like bell-shaped thigh. And of course, we talked about the arms. They're a bit long, and the shoulders kind of overhang a little bit too much. It almost looks like he has like football pads on. Big old forearms, which carry over to the 2.0. Let's talk about that one. Similar situation in the shoulders, with the sleeves now kind of overhanging, a bit too rounded off at the hip. And of course, can't really stand straight up and down. But overall, a much more cohesive looking sculpt compared to the 1.0. Just like squint, relax your vision, and notice how much more red background cuts through the 1.0 silhouette compared to the 2.0. And with the Games Begin, it just gets even better. We've got him standing pretty much straight up and down. The sleeves fall more naturally over the arms. Although I will say there is a little bit of a ridge here from the shirt overlay. The pants fall much straighter from the waist and the belt line. I think the muscle anatomy looks pretty rock solid compared to the pretty like bubbly shapes. And just for fun, let's turn the clock way back to Bandai Super Battle Collection, Super Saiyan Goku. And on the right here, this one is from Irwin Toys. I think it came with a motorcycle or something. Gotta give Irwin their props. They really picked up the Dragon Ball torch and sprinted with it all the way to Yellow Suit Yamcha. Shout out to that outfit. I'm sure it was top of everybody's most wanted list. Here's hoping that Figuarts gets anywhere near that deep into Dragon Ball Z. And here's two engineering predecessors, the 3.0 Ultimate Gohan Superhero and the Son Goku Daima. Apart from the neck, waist, and torso, the engineering is actually pretty similar between Daima and Games Begin Goku, but a lot has changed since the 3.0, so let's go ahead and do a quick tour. Straight away you can see the arms are new. Just look at the height of the elbow joint on Gohan compared to how much shorter it is on Goku. I wonder what that means for the elbow range. Let's see. You can see Gohan gets a little bit more range. Kind of a common theme, I guess, for this new design direction, trying to make the joints a little more hidden, a little more seamless. So the elbow is probably the least interesting example. You can see there's no longer a diaphragm cut. The shirt on Games Begin Goku just rocks over the belt. And here's crunching all the way forward. Holy cow. And again, you can push that belt up to cover any potential gap. And geez, that range is so worth it to me. Look at that. And side tilt has never been this 3.0 design's strong suit. Just totally swept by Games Begin Goku. I think there's a good case to be made that we have left the 3.0 era behind. We'll take a closer look, of course, in the full articulation breakdown, but I just wanted to give a little preview. Here you can see what I was talking about with the flat butt plate. They did improve the back of these knees quite a lot with the 3.0 design, but again, this just looks even better. This is the same kind of knee that Daima Goku was using. And then, like, the differences with Daima Goku, he shares the neck design with Ultimate Gohan. And then his torso is just different. It goes inside the belt instead of outside the belt. Then there's just the more aesthetic changes, like the shape of the thigh cut. I know people aren't totally sold on this setup here. I actually really like how it preserves the silhouette at the waist, whereas this kind of cuts in and then is a little too round going up like there. This just flows a lot better. Same at the torso, really, without having this rib cage cut. Here's Piccolo, the proud Namekian, and Gohan, the fighter who surpassed Goku, but not yet. More Cell Games spectators. It's Krillin, Earth's strongest man, and Yamcha, Earth's foremost fighter. Shout out to Yamcha showing up for the Cell Games. Has he always been taller than Goku? He looks like he's a little bit taller for some reason. I wonder if it's because they retooled the lower legs. And for some DBZ villains that Figuarts has made so far, requiring an additional light source to show up in a dark room, it's Metal Cooler. And lucky to catch the rare W against Goku on a bad day with the heart virus, Android 19. Some bootleg villains that Figuarts has somehow never made. It's Tonson Kid Buu and KW Studio Cell Jr. The SHF Super Saiyan event-exclusive Gogeta, and Vegeta Awakened Super Saiyan Blood. More bootlegs, Black Hole Toys, Majin Vegeta, and Kami 1 Super Saiyan Gogeta. 2 more modern SHFiguarts. It's the legendary Super Saiyan Goku and Trunks the Boy from the Future. And here he is with the... Oh, hang on a second. And here he is with Beast Deities Broly. Now, going over Goku's articulation, starting up at the head. In all their craftiness, they have combined a dumbbell joint with a disc hinge. It has some benefits over the pure dumbbell joint of 3.0 era. However, they've made some trade-offs with it that I'm not so sure about. By putting the socket at the back of the hair on Goku here, just to be in a neutral position where he's looking like straight ahead, that hinge is already like fully articulated. There's very little room for it to actually move more than that. And in fact, if you try to lean the head back further, it's actually that ball, the lower ball joint that's moving, not the hinge. Just to demonstrate what that hinge is actually kind of accomplishing is similar to the kinked dumbbell joint that you see on Revoltech and Mafex figures. However, you can also see they have carved out quite a lot of the back of Chun-Li's neck here. But as a result, thanks to the notch and the angle that the peg goes into the hair, she can look almost straight up. And it's really great, not merely for flying, which Dragon Ball characters are known to do, but also for like crouching really low and still looking forward like a sprinter. Looking down is actually really good. There's a ball joint at the base of the neck in addition to that joint at the top, and so he has no trouble like getting a nice arch in his neck. And looking down, I think that shape looks really good. Gohan gets a respectable amount of range looking down, but not quite as much as Goku here. You can see the angle of his neck is so much steeper. I think there's actually some excess range going forward. And what I mean by excess is there's still room for this neck joint to move forward. Like if his body wasn't here, it could just keep going. So that just means that the neutral position, they could bias it a little bit more, giving a little bit more range looking back without sacrificing any of the range looking down, because he can already look down burying his chest. He doesn't need to look down more than that. I hope that makes sense. The tilting's really good. It's much better than the Gohan, which actually doesn't have a ball joint at the base of the neck. It's a hinge that only goes forward back. He gets pretty good tilt on the ball peg, but you can see Goku's looks a lot better because the neck tilts with the head. And of course, it swivels all around, and the actual functionality of that joint feels really good. It's really fluid to move. It's not frustrating like the 2.0 ball hinge, thanks to having a ball at both ends. Okay, the shoulder joints are interesting. They are internally the same, mostly, as Ultimate Gohan. There is a ball peg angled down into the torso, and a ball hinge going from the shoulder into a socket. So effectively, the shoulder's on like a dumbbell joint on the inside of the body here, and then a hinge on the outside. The major difference on the inside is the inner socket is actually also on a hinge. This was on Legendary Super Saiyan Goku, and it just gives a little bit more maneuvering that dumbbell joint around in there. And then the rest of the differences are in how the sleeves work. With Gohan, it's a relatively hard plastic, and it actually like pegs around the internal shoulder cup there. So it doesn't actually move independently of the shoulder itself. And it just means you kind of end up fighting the joint a little bit more than is ideal. Mine is a little bit chewed up in the corner here just because I really have forced the maximum range out of this joint, and it tends to kind of resist a little bit. The bones are really good though, and you can see, like, even with some resistance, he can cross his hands in front of his chest. The difference from this design to Gohan, the sleeves are sort of free-floating, so they can kind of move independently of the shoulder itself. And whereas Gohan had one, there are now three for Goku. The blue piece, the outer orange piece, and then this inner orange piece, which was kind of shown off in the poster that they put out. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. That's new. And the goal of that is to kind of like hide the armpit when he's raising the arm, or it gives you much better coverage when he's pushing the shoulder range to the extreme. On Ultimate Gohan, who doesn't have that inner sleeve, you can see if I bring the arm forward, you start to see the inner ball joint there. And the neck hinge that I was talking about. Yeah, it's actually really nice. The range on Goku is maybe the best butterfly joint range on any figure I've had. It's really good. It's pretty effortless to move, and he can almost cross his forearms. The shirt is also a soft material, and that lets it kind of pinch in around the collar. If you bring the arms across higher at the chest, effortless to move it in any direction. Like, you can swivel it like 180 degrees either way. You could do 360, but these sleeves are going to get misaligned, so I typically don't. Even with the shape of the shirt getting like wider at the back, he still is able to bring his arms back about this much. And again, you can see that inner orange piece going to work just to close the gaps a little bit. You can bring the arms up over the head. This is where that inner hinge kind of helps you a little bit. It raises the connection point of the shoulder basically. And so you can extend the whole shoulder higher. And that's really good for if he's throwing a punch. The movement is very fluid. These pieces may be a little bit softer than the sleeves on Gohan. They don't seem to be as soft as the shirt though. And like with the Daima Goku, because this shirt's an overlay, I do have this problem a little bit where it occasionally will get a little bit bunchy looking, and you can kind of see some of the inner mechanism that you're not supposed to. I'm curious if they continue with this waist design, which I hope they do, I'm curious if this upper shirt piece really needs to be a soft plastic. Hinge at the shoulder goes up, bicep swivel, the double hinged elbow, about 135 degrees, which Gohan does beat just a little bit. Standard Figuarts ball hinge wrists. They can go in or out, or if you rotate the ball joint, up and down. The wristbands, I think, just swivel around. It might be nice if they had a little bit of room to slide up and down the forearm so you could just get a little more wrist articulation if you needed it. Now we come to the torso, which is just amazing. It's actually a similar joint to the neck. It's a double ball peg, effectively, with a hinge in the middle. The ball joints give you a ton of range already on their own, and then forward and backward, that hinge gives you additional range. The belt is a pretty soft piece, and so he can still almost lean back 90 degrees. That floating piece floats right up and covers a lot of the open space, and that's amazing. That's fantastic torso range. I'm really excited for more Goku figures to have it. And I've seen some people hold almost like they're holding the belt in place and trying to show a big gap, but I don't know. I've just kind of gotten used to moving the belt as I move the joint, and it gets pretty natural to just be able to move it fluidly and have the belt kind of end up in the right place to hide most of the gap. And it just, I don't know, it does a fine job for me. I think this looks better in neutral, and I think it looks better articulated as well, and it gets incredible range. Look at going forward. He can look inside his foot line. And we looked at Gohan before, but just to give you another glance, it might just be one ball joint and a hinge. And you can see the ab crunch is maybe 30 degrees, whereas Games Begin, Goku is looking at like 90 degrees. That is fantastic. The ball pegs in there actually move pretty easily. Tilt them all the way to the side, past 45 degrees. That's with the hinge still facing forward if you really needed to maximize it. If you wanted to orient this hinge so that it's going from side to side, and you can get it down to, again, almost 90 degrees. That's great. And again, like the neck joint, despite the hinge, this joint just does not feel frustrating to move. As long as you do it slowly and just pay attention to where the belt goes, it's very fluid. Now for the hips, they are, again, kind of internally the same as the 3.0. It's like a ball hinge design going into the waist piece. Swivels forward and a little bit backward on the ball, and then hinge kicks out to the side. Goku's works similarly, except the thigh cut's a different shape. The waist has a little bit more sculpt to it, and I think looks a lot better as a result. It's also a soft, squishy material. The hinges, for whatever reason, don't open past here. I think there's room. It's not hitting on the inside. The waist still has room to flex. It's actually the hinge has stopped, and I don't know why the hinge stops here. But if you try to push it past, it will not go past that. So, yeah, I'm not really sure why the hinge is limited that way. Still, really respectable side split. Almost 180. Not quite as much as Gohan, but very, very similar. And then forward, because the waist is soft, gets to here without deforming it. If you want to deform it, you can, and can push it to there quite easily. And with the torso articulation combined, you can get him kicking straight vertically. Soft waist also means he can kick back a little bit better than Gohan can. With the hard plastic butt, there's really not much kicking straight back. Goku hits a forward to back split much more easily. And like we talked about before, I think this pants silhouette looks a lot better, a lot more seamless. The thigh swivel gives you enough range, just a little bit going in. If you slide this past the butt plate, you can get almost 90 out to the side, which is good. That covers pretty much what you need. One thing I didn't mention is, while the hinge doesn't let you kick the leg completely out to the side, you can sort of do the trick version where you swivel the thigh. It's a little tricky though. And the knees are one of my favorite updates for this figure. I mean, when the hinge is closed from the front, you hardly even notice it's there. From the back, the sculpt is complete and there's just this little seam, which again is pretty well hidden. That just looks outstanding. And when bent, they get past 90, maybe like 120. Gohan with the double does get more range, however. And then my one other slight disappointment with this figure is they put this hinge joint in the boot, and I thought it was kind of inspired by the Demon Slayer figures where the hinge actually lets you get a deeper knee bend with a single knee joint. But it doesn't really go back, and I think that's a missed opportunity, because while this is good range, I mean, imagine if the boot was here instead. That's almost exactly the same range as Gohan with the great looking knee, and they have the joint here. The problem is it only goes forward, and I mean, there's some utility to that. If you want him in a really deep crouch, it makes it a little bit easier to get his feet flat on the floor, but just carve away some of the inside of the pants here, and I think you could easily get another 10 or 20 degrees rotation this way out of the boot. And it's not just Demon Slayer that does that. Here's the Yamaguchi Chun-Li. Similarly, a single hinge knee. She does have quite a lot carved out the back of the thigh, which Goku doesn't. Without the calf joint, pretty much the same range as Goku, even with all that carved out space. But then her calf joint does that. And now she has the same range as Gohan with the big bulky double knee. So while this new articulation setup has been mostly hits for me, the boot joint is a bit of a miss, and the neck is maybe a half miss. The ball hinge ankle lets him point his feet almost straight down. It doesn't get a ton of range going up, but this is where that hinge has some utility. The toe joint works really well. It doesn't point down, however. And finally, really good ankle pivot. Almost 90 degrees ankle pivot. So that's really good. I bet he can hit a very wide stance. I'm pretty pleased. I have two negatives that I can easily live with, but I'd consider them gripes. The boot articulation, only going forward, is just really disappointing. It really ought to go back more and complement the knee, the single joint knee range. I hope they change that before replicating this body for every Goku form in existence. And second is the design of the neck joint. It works really well, but it makes the head swap super awkward. And I think they probably just did it to thwart customizers and people who want to swap their Figuarts heads around. I don't like doing a ton of that myself anyways, so it's not a huge deal for me, but it is annoying every time I want to swap to the windswept hair that this came with. It's kind of needlessly hard. Nitpicks: the way that the neck joint pegs into the back of the hair means that the hinge is already fully articulated just in a neutral position, so it doesn't leave a ton of room to raise the head. If you push it too far, the head's going to pop off, which see gripe number 2. That's as far as I can get it without popping the head off. With all that ab crunch, it does leave a little room for looking up some more, but it's pretty good. It's definitely the best Goku neck range that Figuarts has ever done. Some other minor nitpicks. There's a couple rough spots in the hair sculpt. This one's pretty good, but you can see there's a little bit of like flashing between some of the sections. For some reason, there is blue rubbing off on the waist from the belt, even though the belt piece is molded in blue and painted orange. You can see the inside of it is blue. And the orange, you can tell, is painted because it is a little fuzzy around the edge, which is another little nitpick, but it blends in pretty well. I've seen some people say they want this orange piece extended. I think that would get in the way of the articulation too much and would prefer they didn't do that. I'm totally fine with this amount of gap if he's going to bend 90 degrees backwards and forwards. So in addition to the head popping off if you push it too far, I have found the same thing happens with this left hip joint. Also the torso joint, if you push it to extremes. Although now that I say it, it's not doing it. So there you go. If you push it past where it's supposed to go, it can pop apart, but pops right back together, no problem. That's pretty much all my gripes and nitpicks. On the positive side, I think the sculpt is outstanding. The articulation cuts are super clean, and yet the posability is unmatched. Maybe Daima Vegeta can give it a run, but I think this is the best torso and shoulder setup that Figuarts has done on Dragon Ball, and everything is super smooth. Nothing is too tight. This leg, the swivel is maybe a touch loose, but everything else is pretty spot on. And finally, it's a great price and a great value. So, I mean, if you're a Figuarts Dragon Ball collector, I don't see why you wouldn't get this. I wish in the future they would plan for Super Saiyan or Super Saiyan 2 Goku releases to match the face connection so that they could share faceplates. Like, for example, a smirking face with serious eyes is definitely something I'd like to see for Super Saiyan Goku. But 4 faceplates, that's pretty standard for the budget Figuarts, and is actually more than the Ultimate Gohan had when it was released. That 3.0 Gohan only had 3 faceplates, and then they spread all of them out with the other premium Bandai releases. Altogether, it's a super solid Super Saiyan Goku upgrade, a great base for many more Gokus to come, and I'm really looking forward to the Kind-Hearted Saiyan release and whatever they have coming next. I think a Super Saiyan 2 on this body would be outstanding. Can't wait for Perfect Cell to host the Cell games. Who knows when that's going to be? Could be any day now. Could be in a year. We'll re-release the 1.0 Perfect Cell and you'll like it. Which I will not, but I don't know. These days, I have no clue what Tamashi is thinking. It's clearly not what I'm thinking. One of the coolest fights in DBZ, especially the studio cockpit part. This has been the Art of Action Figures, looking at Games Begin, Super Saiyan Goku. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.